Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sports Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Thanks so much for joining us this Wednesday. A lot of stuff going on, but we've got a great show tonight, going a little different direction than we normally do, but I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So, by the way, thank you, everybody. Our subscriber list keeps growing and growing and growing, so our thanks so much because you guys make us. This is really the fan show. It's for you guys out there. So thanks for supporting the show. So before we open up and get tonight's special guest, let's bring on one of my co-hosts, my man down in Jacksonville, the former Florida A&M Rattler National Championship quarterback and analyst of the Rattler football and basketball games on the radio with Melvin Beal. Let's bring on Al the Rattler Chester.
What's going on, Les? How you doing, buddy? Hey, man, greetings from Jacksonville, Florida. Hump Day. Let's make it happen today, man. I'm excited about tonight's show, and I think the fans are going to really love it.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a little bit different spin on something we usually do every week. But I think our viewers and our subscribers are really going to love this because, just chatting with our guest, what a super cool guy. What a great story. What an amazing success story. This guy has it all. So without further ado, let's bring on tonight's special guest, Scott Uzzell. Scott, VP and GM at North America Operating Unit at Nike. That's right. We've got a FAMU Nike connection. So, Scott, welcome to Sports Talking Sports.
Scott, look at you, man. Good to see you.
Glad to be here.
The Rattler Nike man.
The Rattler Nike man.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here. We had a good homecoming last weekend, too.
Absolutely. I tell you what, we put 52 on Texas Southern, man, and there were more people outside than inside, and there's no homecoming like a FAMU homecoming.
You got that right, brother. You got that right.
Well, let me get this started here. Speaking of FAMU, because obviously we run the FAMU connection, seems to be every week here. But, Scott, I know you grew up in the Maryland area outside of Columbia. What got you from that area to Florida A&M University and ultimately being a Rattler?
Yeah, so I grew up in the D.C., Maryland area. And basically, my family always talked about the Florida A&M band. And at some point while I was in high school, they were up either playing Hampton or Howard or another HBC. And whenever they came up to town, we always went to go see them. And then my dad talked about not only the band, but also he thought the business school was amazing. And I went to visit and fell in love. And I ended up going to Florida A&M, and long way from home. But I had two other high school buddies join me. They were my roommates when I went down there. Nice. And they were the fondest years I can think about.
Ah, fantastic. There you go, Al. FAMU does it again.
I tell you what, man, Rattlers are here, Rattlers are there, Rattlers are everywhere, man. Scott, I tell you what, you were matriculating under Dr. Sybil Mobley in that business school at Florida A&M, so you got some of the best training that you could possibly get. And I tell you what, she's a legend in everybody's mind, a legend around FAMU still, and God rest her soul. She touched a lot of lives and made a lot of great people, man, like yourself.
Thank you very much. I'm super blessed to have gone to school when she was leading there, because I tell you this, I went in there a boy that had no focus and came out a lot sharper.
Well, I got to ask Scott, when you were down there in Tallahassee and you were a Rattler, did you hear the stories about the great number 2, Albert Chester, the national championship winning quarterback?
I heard stories about Al, but also that team was talked about, and that coach, and still talked about to this day. So, and if you spend any time around Florida A&M, the band is celebrated, but the football program, when they're winning, they're talked about by every alumni, and when they're not, it's probably pretty tough being the coaching team there, because those fans are pretty tough. They want a great team and a great band.
Nice. Al.
Scott, I tell you what, man, let's push it back some, man. Let's start where you grew up. Talk to us, bring us up to FAMU days. But did you play ball yourself? Tell me how you grew up, man. Tell us all about you in that D.C., Virginia area.
Yeah, so I grew up playing in the Maryland, D.C. area. Soccer's really big, so played soccer from a very young age. I know you guys can't see my height, but I'm 6'5", so I'm a tall guy. Whoa. Always tall, kind of lanky, so I played goalie. Loved playing goalie, and I played basketball. I was always like a 3 or 4, but I have to admit the only people that would come watch me were my parents. So, but I had a lot of hustle out there, but it wasn't going to pay my bills long term. But I love sport.
Well, that's outstanding.
Outstanding. So now, from high school to FAMU, you matriculated at FAMU. What'd you do after FAMU? Where'd you go? Where'd you first launch your career?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit. So when I think about first in high school, played sports. My dad, an entrepreneur. I started a couple businesses in high school, and I had a dream that I wasn't going to go to college, that I was going to build some type of business that would, I was just going to be a successful business person without going to college. But I did go to college, and so when I did, I went to the business school. And when I got into business school, I wanted to go into something like sales, where if you get up every day and you work really hard, you can give yourself a raise by just working hard. And so when I got out of school, I went to go work for Procter and Gamble, and I sold really cool products like Charmin and Bounty and Tide. And you know what? If you sold a lot and your name was at the top of the list on every Friday, the third Friday of the month, you're going to get a bigger bonus. And so that really jazzed me. It really connected me back to my sporting days of fighting to make the team and fighting to get playing time, because I wasn't naturally gifted to go into a business environment where I had to fight, but I could actually see the benefit of it. I went right into sales.
Now, if from Florida A&M, you ended up going to the University of Chicago, which is one of the finest business schools in the country. As a matter of fact, in doing some research for the show, acceptance rate is like under 4% right now. That's wow.
They got a couple of flyers a year, and I made one of those flyers.
Yeah, you did. They wouldn't even let me in the parking lot, okay? Forget about the building. They wouldn't let me in the parking lot, Scott. But your time at University of Chicago obviously kind of molded you for what you're, kind of doing now. Interesting time there, being there?
First, I'm fortunate if I sit on the board at Florida A&M, and then I actually sit on the business school board at University of Chicago. So
wow, that's
I
impressive.
both still stay connected to both my universities, and they're both amazing. I would say Florida A&M, I was so wet behind the ears at, 17, 18 years old, going to Florida to go to school, that I went there not knowing how to tie my shoes, coming out definitely ready, better for the world, and have a group of friends that I still have from my met freshman year that I talk to every 3 days, like
Nice.
on text, watching games, and like who's getting traded. I mean, it's just changes my life. My wife, I met freshman year at Florida A&M, and we have 2 kids. And so that whole thing. But then you dial 6 or 7 years later, when I went back to graduate school, another amazing experience, not quite the same from the standpoint of the social and everything else, but I learned a lot about business, a lot about strategy, a lot about kind of what do I want to do, quote unquote, when I grow up. Whereas when I got out of Florida A&M, I kind of wanted to get a job, and I wanted to be successful at that job. And kind of that's all I knew. My parents were great people, but they didn't work in big business, and they're wonderful. But this was all new to me. But then after like 6 or 7 years, and then going back to graduate school, it helped me sharpen it, say, okay, it's not just about a job. It's not just about, being at the top of the leaderboard on Friday by selling more Tide or Charmin. It's about what do you kind of want to do in the next 20 years, and can you make a big impact? And so I got a lot more sharper, a lot more focused, a lot more discipline about what I wanted to do, and became much more intentional. So different experiences, but they played a different role based on where I was in my life.
That's impressive, Al.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. Just back it up a little bit. At 6'5", did you play any basketball at all?
Oh no, I played basketball. I was a 4. I still play, not well, but I'll get out there on some 3-on-3. But I love basketball. I like soccer. If you ask me 20 years, I love both. But man, I love watching NBA. I love watching college ball. I love playing a little ball, and I'm a ball fanatic.
Now, Scott, after University of Chicago, give us a little bit of how you started climbing that corporate ladder, because what you've done is incredibly impressive. I mean, we're talking some of the most recognizable brands in the whole entire world, never mind North America. We're talking, Coca-Cola, right? I mean, you had a very, very major role at Coca-Cola, which is world renowned. So how did you get to that point? And then we can talk a little bit about how you made that transition over to the sports world and the shoe world and things like that. So maybe tell us how you got to Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I would say this. So one of the things when you're at business school at Chicago, they do a lot of case studies where you get to go through. I like to say, like using a baseball metaphor, you're kind of at a batter's box and practicing sliders and curveballs and fastballs, and you're doing it in kind of a pen, but not in the real game. Well, when you're in business school at Chicago, we did 50, 75 different case studies of buying companies, selling companies, building companies, closing companies, buying plants, entering countries, but all like theoretical stuff, but real examples. But I did 100 of those. So when I came out, it's like I would find myself in the next 10, 15, 20 years of business where I'd be sitting in a room talking about buying a company, selling a company, entering China, exiting Ukraine, selling a plant in Latin America. And I'm like thinking, I've done this before. And I really haven't, but I was in a batter's box 15 years ago doing a case study for a couple of weeks, going through an example and really doing the math and really working through it. And that's how Chicago really prepared me, so that when I was in that room with people in around the table, I wasn't sitting there deer in the headlights. I kind of was like, I might not really have done this, but I've seen this pitch before. Okay. And I think about, one of the deals I worked on at Coca-Cola was a fabulous brand that Kobe Bryant started with a guy named Mike Rapoli. It's called Body Armor. And I was one of the people that bought that with Coca-Cola, but we're in New York, we're negotiating the deal. And as we're doing it, got bankers and lawyers, it's like 30 people in the room. And I remember this example of doing something similar in business school, and when it didn't really matter. I don't be really clear. It was all a case study of a company doing this, but it prepared me so that I wasn't sitting in there like this is the first time I ever heard the word mergers and acquisitions or whatever we were doing. So that, I'd say that's my connection, and that connection has continued on as I've continued my career at Coca-Cola, and then I left to go to a private equity startup called Zico Coconut Water in Manhattan Beach, California. That company then was bought by Coca-Cola in 2015. I was back at Coke again. And then after that, I left Coke in 2019 to go to Converse. And then a year ago, I joined Nike. But all those examples connect to my experiences in business school.
Wow. That's, again, Al, just impressive.
It's amazing, man. I tell you what, that's some awesome stuff. And I hope we have some listeners, some young listeners who can soak up this information that you're sharing, because it's important to understand how the path they take. Everybody's path is going to be different. But when you listen to someone who's done it, who's successfully getting it done day in and day out, man, I tell you what, it's a treat. And I'm real proud, Scott, to say that you're a FAMU Rattler, man.
Well, both of you all, I appreciate it. I will say this, though, it's been fraught with a lot of mistakes. And if I went back to my younger self 20 years ago, there's definitely things I would say to myself to do differently, but I've been super fortunate. There's been a little bit of luck, a lot of mentorship, and then a lot of hard work too.
Well, we have the green light on.
That was going to be one of my questions.
Well, I was going to say, we have the green light on. We got the green light on. So,
okay.
So I know the viewers out there are
chomping at the bit. What's the green light? I don't even know. What does that mean?
The green light is we've got some questions out there from some of our viewers right now checking out tonight's show, because most people think, Scott, this is a podcast. It really kind of isn't. It's a live stream TV show that, the viewers can kind of, participate in, that's the cool thing about our show. So we'll get it over to Joni, my amazing chat girl, for question number 1 for tonight's special guest, Scott Uzzell. And I actually pronounced it correctly.
You did.
Okay. So can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay. Tech for Fun asks, as a digital marketing person, I am curious how Nike keeps the selling dream/emotion, not the product, alive. The swoosh, one of the few companies to do it at such scale.
Yeah, I would say this, that, Nike is, first of all, they start with everything with the athlete at the center of everything they do. So basically, athletes, if you spent time on our campus, or you're in meetings, or you travel, or when I go to cities, we are spending time with, college athletes, high school athletes, to the pros that we all know, but they inform us on kind of what's needed for them to improve their performance. And that's where it starts. And then what we do is we try to pull that thread through to make sure that as we build product, as we tell stories, and then as we execute that, whether it be digitally or in store, that you get that experience. So it's not just a shoe on a rack or a hoodie on a hanger, but you understand how the story comes through. And right now it's connecting it through social media, through tactile touching in store, to virtual reality experiences where you can try on outfits when you're not there, all of it so that we can connect an experience to the consumer that they feel like they're a part of the product and part of the experience.
And that's a great question. And Joni, before we get to another question out there, Scott, I'm looking at everything, and it's like you're responsible for billions of dollars. You know, you've got a lot of people under you. And this is a brand that if you drop the swoosh in the middle of China or India, everybody knows what Nike is. I mean, in the sports world, you are numero uno. I mean, listen, you've had athletes from Tiger Woods. I mean, we're talking the most iconic athletes, most recognizable of all time. Tiger Woods in golf, Michael Jordan. I mean, these are guys that, you know, they haven't played. Michael Jordan's been retired for years. People know who Michael Jordan is at the drop of a hat because of his association with Nike. I mean, so it's just an incredible thing that, you know, we've got you on. We're so happy to have you on the show because you're at such that level that it's just incredible when you look at the brand recognition and what you've been able to do with that. I mean, I know you've been there a short period of time, but I'm just
I'll tell
amazing.
you, I'm going to ask myself the own question. You know, what's really amazing about Nike is that some brands tell amazing stories on the outside, but when you get behind it, they're just a bunch of people in a boardroom developing stuff. When you actually go to Nike and you go behind the curtain, when we think about opening an office, we try to think about, okay, where's the closest football or soccer pitch? Can our people who skate have a skate park nearby? Can we put a basketball court, and this is a true story, on the 5th floor of our building in the Midtown Manhattan so they can run ball at lunch? And then how do we make sure the whole employee experience is supported by sport as center of everything we do? I've been in rooms, we're talking about our athletes that work in our stores, so our Nike retail stores around the country and around the world. How do we make sure they can take their time and get paid for to go work in AAU or go work at EYBL or go work back in their high schools to give back in their community, but do it through Nike and actually be rewarded for it? Because guess what? We believe sport can change the world. We believe sport is centered to the purpose that brings people together. And it's like, it's not just lip service. It's like, it's a part of the P&L. It's how they invest. And to your point, it translates into seeing the swoosh on, you know, every sport. It transcends to so many athletes who are not even paid by Nike still choose to want to wear Nike. And I won't mention the school, but it's a couple of big schools out there that are not Nike schools that the athletic directors have called me or the presidents and said, God, can we get a Nike deal? Because I have new recruits because we're not a Nike school. We carry another brand. They don't want to wear our products, you know, because they don't believe it gives them what they need, the edge when they're on the field or on the basketball court. So
Performance.
it's pretty amazing.
Performance, right? It's everything. I mean, the athletes want to perform and they want to wear the best things out there, right? So, and you guys are at the forefront of that, right? There's no doubt about it. Okay, well, I'm getting this over here. We have more questions, so let's get some more questions in for Scott.
Okay, Martin Swartz at Les's house.
Oh, he's at my house right now, drinking my booze. Go ahead.
With Nike having such large revenue streams, what are your thoughts on Nike having their own sports network? Not sure if you can answer that, but
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been in a room where we've discussed specifically that. When I've talked to some of the people that have been around a long time, they've said, Scott, we've thought about, people have asked us, should we be an agent, network, you know, do all kinds of different things, own teams. And we, for whatever reason, I'm not saying in the future it couldn't happen, have focused that we are going to make sure that the athletes on the field, that we're doing everything we can to make them perform at their best. And I'll give you another example, another real world example. I was at the Paris Olympics, you know, in August, and I was in one evening, I got to meet a gentleman who outfitted Michael Johnson. And for your young viewers, he's a multi-gold medal winner, fastest man in the world in 1992, but he wore these gold swoosh spikes. Yep. And this gentleman he's a product designer. When Michael got signed, he was, when you're a super athlete like that, they'll sign you a designer, and so that they almost live with you and watch you train every day. So they're constantly tweaking stuff. And they were trying to figure out, Michael, are you more agility? Is your problem turning left and right when you go around a turn? Or is it just pure, you want speed? And they were just tweaking it. And finally he got it down. He said, well, I love the shoe. It's getting there. Just the color. I want something that communicates what I'm trying to achieve. And he jokingly made the statement. He's like, gold, because Olympics is about gold, not anything else. And so they made it for him, but they kind of made it, I think it was made for practice, or maybe you'll wear it afterwards. But this gentleman told us, then they were in the stands. I think this was in Greece. I don't know. It was somewhere. It's Atlanta, 96. Olympics on the world stage, the 100. And Michael comes out of the tunnel and he's got the gold freaking shoes on.
Wow.
And the whole Nike team were like, whoa. They're like, and announcers are like, well, if he wears gold, you got to bring it. Like, what is he trying to say? All these things. Of course, he brung it and won it. But these moments. But then dial to 2024. I'm in the Olympic Village with this gentleman, and he developed a boot that he figured out with athletes that when they run these events and they practice, they then have to find time to kind of sit in ice to kind of cool off and recover.
Yeah.
But they can't do the other things they want to do. So they developed a whole system that you could put something on your foot that goes up your leg that actually helps you recover, but you can actually walk around and eat, and you can be much more mobile. You say, what's the big deal? Well, a lot of athletes, especially when they're 21, 22, 23 years old, if they have an option of going to do something with their friends and not spending the time to do the recovery work, because it's like they want to be moving, they many times opt out. So the trainers love this new device that was created. They can actually move, do their life, check their phone, talk to their friends and everything else. And at the same time, they're getting the kind of rehabilitation to get ready for tomorrow's event that they never had. And we saw that real life. It's not even commercial yet, maybe commercial in the future, but they're continuing to iterate to make the athlete the best they can be. And so much of it, a lot of it isn't even showing up on a peg to be sold. It's just to make the athlete better.
That's a great question, Marty. Thank you so much for that one. Joni, we have any more?
That's good.
We do. We've got lots more.
We've got lots more, Scott.
Yes,
I told
interesting
you,
ones.
Scott, this was going to be a very informative show for our viewers. So go ahead, Joni.
Okay, tech for fun. Who was your favorite athlete to meet as a Nike executive?
Oh,
I've met a few. I got to meet Michael Jordan, who's pretty special. So I just the reason I hesitated just because I don't want to. Anyway, I met a lot, and I don't want anyone. Oh, they're not favorite, but he's just, I just grew up watching.
He's
him.
Michael.
He's Michael. I mean, and then just in real life, he's bigger than life, and he's just everything about him over delivered. In addition, he's just a great gentleman. So, but I've met I've met great athletes that, without calling out names, that said, Scott, I really want to be a fashion designer, but MBA enables me to build fashion that enables you to want to talk to me about it. So it's like I was like meeting people. They're gifted at something. This isn't even their first gig. Their dream gig is something else, but how this enables that. And so, or golfers that I've met that said, Scott, when I go on vacation, I don't play golf, but of course, me as a golfer, I'm like, wow, you're the man and everything else. So anyway, or, I've met, also Michelle E was pretty cool. I've met a lot. Wimby was cool.
Cool.
Ja was cool. I've met some really cool ones.
Okay.
Tom Brady, yeah.
I figured. I mean, with the association Nike, you've probably been in great company with a lot of tremendous athletes. We got another question, Joni?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Martin Swartz again. How has the paying of college athletes changed the way things work between the bridge of college and pro athletics?
Ooh, I don't know if we can answer this one.
I can answer it from more as we think about it. The thing about it is when you think about for years that you could have a college kid playing on a football or basketball team and, coming from, my parents, it's like, you got $50 a month, man, and stay on that meal plan and I was not an athlete, but, if someone took me to Denny's or Chick-fil-A, I could lose my scholarship. I mean, it just doesn't seem right. So the fact that to equalize just common sense seems like the right thing to do. But then second, what it does is it enables athletes at a younger age to be, to actually get some equity or say some financial benefit from the value they're bringing to the universities and everything. But I mean, the thing about it in the end, probably in the first couple of years, there's a lot of shifting and everything, but over time it should work itself out. That still, when they're at a certain age, the best and the brightest will always get those big contracts that we read about when they get to the pro. Just now at an earlier stage, you have people that are able to participate in the value that many of the universities and businesses were getting, but they weren't getting any part of it.
Yeah, no, I think it's long overdue, Scott. I mean, not speaking specifically for anything Nike or any other apparel company at all, but, you've got these guys who, for years, they're selling their jersey based on their exploits on the field and that number. They certainly didn't buy it for the guy who was number 5 in 1972. Right. They're buying it for the recent Heisman Trophy guy or something. and they really never got to, benefit from that at all. I mean, it was really them doing it. And now, at least now they get that opportunity. But another good question, Marty. Joni?
Okay, tech for fun. What are you most proud of at Nike that you and the company do to give back?
Oh, great question.
There's a lot. What I'd say what's most amazing is that Nike is a company that follows the athlete. So whether it be supporting equal play across gender and across sport, to making sure that we want everyone to get out to vote, or making sure that there's more equity in the world. Nike is one that puts its money where its mouth is, and I've never worked with a company that's taken some stances on things that I think that sometimes are uncomfortable. If we think back to Colin Kaepernick and supporting, he needs another shot, and we need more people to give people a shot. I'm really proud to be a part of a company like that, which is pretty amazing. The employees at Nike have such advocacy of being able to speak what's on their mind, and Nike to listen. Can't do everything, but knowing that the voice of the athlete, both the professional athletes that we all see on ESPN, but then also we call the folks that work at Nike athletes, to make sure that's the embodiment of the brand. And so I think that's pretty special. It's kind of a brand with purpose, and they live it every day.
Scott, real quick, let's back.
One of the things I like.
Go ahead, Al.
One of the things I like that you're talking about, Scott, is how you guys take care of athletes. Athletes, when they feel good, they dress good, and they feel like they look good, they play good. And you guys embody all of that in terms of embracing and making it easier for the athlete to wrap their arms around. What did you find as probably the most challenging, though, as you network your way through Coke, Converse, and Nike in your career? I mean, what was the most challenging for you moving forward?
Yeah, I'd say the most challenge for me is that I was a firstborn, but I am a firstborn. I have a younger brother, 5 years younger. Always wanted to be like my dad, and always wanted my dad's approval. And I say this because I've clearly gone to a shrink, but the net is that that I had this syndrome of trying to be a perfectionist. And guess what? In this world, that if you're trying to be a perfectionist, you'll never do great things. You got to be comfortable failing along the way. And it took me many years, at least 10 years ago, where I got to the point where I'm courageous enough to push myself, make tough decisions, and be like, I'm not pleasing everyone, and that's okay. And if I fail being Scott at its best, I'd rather do that than win trying to be someone else. And so that was the biggest thing that I had to learn that journey. And the thing about it is, for the first 8 to 10 years out of college, you kind of need to, you don't want to be a pleaser, but you need to do what the last person did that was really good. But after that 10 years, you got to kind of build your own trail. Nobody told me when that's supposed to happen. But once I started getting into that groove, to get comfortable that, you know what, I might not know all the answers, but I'm confident in myself. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I'll go do something else. I played with so much joy. I was so much more confident. When I was trying to not break something, make sure I'm perfect, let me figure out how to make sure that everybody says I'm great. Man, I didn't sleep at night, and I was not at my best. But once you get to the point of playing with joy, you can't stop someone. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but I'm at the point I'm playing with joy right now.
Well, we've got you for another couple of minutes. So anybody out there, we got our viewers and subscribers out there that want to, get in this conversation, ask Scott about his journey here. I want to ask Scott a very important thing, because he's a golfer like myself and Benny the Book. Al, not so much. Al doesn't participate in the.
I'm a putter, man. I can putt.
No, that's right. Okay. Well, Al can be our designated putter. But Scott, I have to ask you, your handicap currently right now, what's your GIN and the strength and weakness of your game?
Okay, got it. All right.
Sorry, I had to do this.
I'm like a 1920, to be honest with you.
Right.
Hey,
1920.
Right.
My strength is trash talking, and I'm still working on that duck hook that happens when I don't want it. But I hit a ball pretty far, but I'm not good around the greens. And but I got the trash talking down, and I can distract you. And I might still leave a couple of dollars at the end, even though I'm not as good as I need to be.
Nice. I like it. And then there's Al. We always have Al to clean it up, on the green, right? So we got that.
That's right. That covered. I'll take care of it.
But I just want to backtrack. Well, I just want to backtrack real quick, because we only got Scott for a couple more minutes. But Scott, we never really talked about your transition from Coke to, Converse, and ultimately, Converse getting bought out by Nike. Like, was it something that you always wanted to get into the world of sports or something like that? I mean, you went from a beverage company to something, apparel, shoes, things like that. What's that journey like for you?
First of all, it should never have happened. No, I'm joking. Yeah, it should not. I did not So basically this at Coca-Cola, the real short one is that I worked at a private equity company that was bought by Coke. And from 2012 to 2014, I worked there. I was the COO of a coconut water company. Then once Coke bought it, their venture capital group, they asked me about 6 months later to be the president of the venture capital group. So then I bought brands like Body Armor, Topo Chico, Fairlife Milk, Honest Tea, and several others. And basically, I was basically this big company, Coke. We're buying brands that were not developed; they're developed by founders and bringing them into the family. I was talking about that in 2018 at some type of big conference in Las Vegas, and a number of Nike people were in the audience and Converse people, and they thought it was pretty interesting that you could be a big company with big brands, and you could have your own venture capital group to look at how to bring outside innovation in. And so they stayed connected with me over the course of 2018. And then after the analyst meeting in November of 2018, I got a phone call from the president of Nike saying, hey, would you like to be CEO of Converse? I didn't know that Nike had just recently had bought Converse, and thought about it quickly. And I said yes. And I thought, Les, that I was going from a beverage company now just selling more sneakers like Coke, but it's so different. First, it's a strategy of organized scarcity. At Coke, if I can give it to you in a can and a glass and a bottle and a fountain, and I'll put it everywhere you want it. But in the world of fashion and sneakers and apparel, the more is not good. So you want it to be enough that people can get accessibility, but not so much that it's on every corner on the universe. It's kind of not cool. So trying to strike that balance between being cool but accessible was a new skill that I had to develop. And then next, kind of putting the athlete or the consumer squarely in the mix of culture was so cool, because these brands, whether it be Nike or Converse, they live in culture. If you meet the people that either work on these brands or where they spend their time, this is not like go put on a cool outfit tonight. They live. I mean, the skate team at Converse skates to work on skateboards. Wow. They come in and they have skateboards under their arm. The people who run the basketball business at Converse, they go run ball in a TD Garden at lunch every day. They're in ball outfits every day. And the creatives that work in the world of fashion, their evening gig is they're designing stuff on their own as their own side gig. So it's a very different world where the people, when you go to Nike, the people are a lot of former athletes, but they live in sport like you would never believe. And not that you don't find that in the world of Coca-Cola or Unilever, or I worked on diapers at Procter & Gamble, but I didn't have a baby. But it's just different, and it's intoxicating if you love it, but it's super cool.
Well, Scott, we
yes, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Scott loves his job, man. Everybody who works there, they're having a great time.
Yeah, that's what
it's amazing.
It comes through, Scott, that you really, really do enjoy. It's not really a job. It's
the lifestyle.
Exactly. So we do have one more question, but before we do that, real quick, Joni, I got a great idea for Scott. Here's I'm putting my marketing hat on, Scott. Okay, we got the shoe called Less is More for the old, fat, lazy guy over the age of 60. I think it's perfect. I swear you got me on we sell a ton of these things. Just saying. All right. Well, let's get a question in here. Let's get one last one for Scott before we let him go tonight.
Okay.
Do we have one?
Hey, we do.
Okay.
We actually have two.
Oh, get the best one.
I'm trying to clarify one of them because I'm not sure what it means. Right. But anyway, Martin Swartz, he asks, with the big four put aside, baseball, hockey, NBA, NFL, how do you popularize the Olympic type sports?
Oh, that's interesting, because it isn't a big four sport.
That's a great question. Again, I've been at Nike less than a year, and I was at the Olympics. But it's interesting because if you ask me one of the best events I went to at the Olympics, I went to a lot. I went to basketball, I went to swimming, I went to gymnastics, a lot of track and field, the javelin, things I would never normally go to. But what Nike's view of the world is the athletes carry it through. And one of the most memorable events for me in the Olympics, all of them were amazing, was a 10,000 meter run. And what was amazing about it is it was an event that wasn't very crowded, like it wasn't a lot of people there. But again, these are world-class athletes. And in Great Britain, their 1 and 2 10,000 meter runners were injured. So they asked someone who runs a 5,000 to step up. And they ran the event, and the people who won end up lapping this person from Great Britain, the woman from Great Britain. And so then they, the 2, 1, 2, and 3 won, and she still had 2 more laps to go. If you can imagine, everybody's done, but everybody, 80,000 people stayed on their feet. She could have walked, or she could have just said, it's over,
Right.
This isn't my event. She ran the last 2 laps. And can you imagine, lap 1 is already tough, but now you've got a whole nother lap to go. And she does the second one with the same, muster, and crosses the line, lays around on the ground because she's exhausted. And I was like, this is what sports all about. So, I don't know. Nike didn't make that bigger or better, but my only point is athletes like that woman from Great Britain, the fact I'm telling you this story, those are the stories that only happen on the gridiron or on the track or on the basketball court. And what I love about sport, my wife one time says, you watch sport on Saturday and Sunday, then you watch it, and when they talk about it, then you talk about it with your friends, and then you go watch it again. And I said, honey, it's the only thing left in life where we can't predict the ending. It's a drama that plays out in 1 hour, 2 hours, or 15 laps on the 10,000 meter that I cannot tell you how the drama is going to end. You can't fast forward. And it's like, that's what makes sports special.
Scott, it's the only true reality TV. I've been saying it for years. That's what it is. So, Al, anything last for Scott before we let this incredible interview go? Anything else?
Scott, I just, again, want to thank you, man, and salute you for everything that you're doing. Keep getting it done, man, and just know that we'd love to have you come back at some subsequent time, man, but we really appreciate you giving us some love tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled, and keep doing what you're doing. It was a lot of fun.
Scott, thank you so very much. I wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving and a happy holiday season. And like I said, maybe next year you'll come back and join us again.
Thank you, fellas. Have a good one, man. Thank you. Al, both of you, hope to meet in person sometime.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
We'll do it.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with more Sports Talking Sports. Al, the Rattler Chester, Benny the Books, the Millie, after this.
At Revolution Basketball Training, we improve the skills of athletes with a diverse set of training programs for all ages. With innovative techniques and an experienced training staff, we push your skills to the next level, turning weaknesses into strengths. Technology like our instant feedback system accelerates learning and is one of the many reasons we are different. Join Connecticut's largest basketball movement. Don't just play the game, revolutionize it.
Welcome back to Swartz Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz, the man in the middle, Al the Rattler Chester. And now look who just popped into our man
Benny
on the
the
right.
Book.
Hit the box
guys.
on the right. It's Benny the Book.
How you guys doing?
My man,
Great-
Benny. All
Great
right,
to
good
be
to see you,
back.
Benny.
Great to be back.
Was Scott, was he not impressive,
Yes.
gentlemen?
I
yeah.
I wanted to put a question because I know somebody else that worked for Coca-Cola, and he did the same things that Scott was talking about. What he did, like he would buy companies, other brand, like other types of mineral water or stuff like that, and they bring it into the family. I couldn't remember my friend's son-in-law's name, but they may have crossed paths.
It was,
he worked at Coca-Cola for a
I
long
was
time.
extremely impressed. I did
Yes.
I did tell Scott Pryor, I said, I'm going to come away with this interview a little bit smarter. And
What a journey!
I think
what
I
a
did.
journey!
Oh yeah, very
I
impressive.
got to tell you, these FAMU guys, they're sharp as could be, man. Al,
Benny, you got to say it right now. It's FAMU now. FAMU, not FAMU. FAMU.
No,
FAMU,
not like Shamu. It's
FAMU.
FAMU. It's Florida A&M University,
A&M,
Agricultural and Mining. All right.
he's,
Well,
he
listen,
was a very interesting individual. Very nice guy.
all right. So before we get into, I know, Al, real quick, I want to do a quick Rattler recap with you and also talk about the HBCU game of the week. So let's talk about that big Rattler win, putting up over 50.
Put a 50 spot on.
Hey,
him,
man,
huh?
Yeah, we put 52 on Texas Southern for homecoming, man.
Nice.
It was a great win. We had a great crowd. It's a festive atmosphere. I mean, Scott just told you, man, there's no homecoming like a FAMU homecoming. We had about 23,000 tight in a 19,000 seat stadium, and we had about 65,000 on the back street there. And I tell you, the vendors made a boatload of money, but it was a great weekend. It ran the entire week, and our alumni family and friends had a great time. But I tell you what a great win, great quarterback play, great defensive play. I mean, it was everything you want. The most complete game that we played this football season. So I'm looking for us to carry on, because we got to go to Houston, Texas on Saturday to play the Panthers.
Okay.
Prairie
Prairie
View. I mean, we take them on at 3 o'clock, man. It's going to be on ESPN Plus, but they're going to be a tough team to battle. When you go into somebody else's environment, it's always a challenge. But we're going to be ready for those guys. We fly out on Friday. It should be a festive atmosphere. They got some of the best facilities out there in Black College, and so I'm looking forward to it. Should be a great game.
Yeah, we'll be tuning in on Saturday. Now the HBCU game of the week.
Well, I tell you what, the game of the week from last week, we had the Mississippi Valley Delta Devils playing the Prairie View Panthers. And we kind of leaned toward the Prairie View Panthers, but it was a dogfight. Prairie View won it 17-16, so that was a big win for them. This week, our HBCU home game of the week is going to be Edward Waters University right here in Jacksonville. The Tigers of Edward Waters, they play Allen University, the Yellow Jackets. And the Yellow Jackets 3-4 and 4-3 overall. Edward Waters 1-5 and 1-7 overall. It's going to be a tight matchup because they're playing at Nat Glover Stadium, who's the former sheriff here in Jacksonville. But they're going to be playing Edward Waters, a tough team. They've lost some tough games. I'm going to lean with the home team, although Allen has the better record. Edward Waters University, I got them beating Allen University Yellow Jackets on Saturday.
All right, so everybody, if they get a chance in that area, please check out the game. And we'll be tuning in with Al Saturday. But real quick, so guys, a lot of stuff going on in college football. I mean, they just came out with the official playoff rankings, or just rankings yesterday. Want to have Tony throw up our 12. And this is not the best 12, 1 through 12, but it's how I think it's going to shake out right now based on last week's games and how the playoff seedings would work. So right now, I got the Ducks overall number 1 out of the Big Ten. I got Georgia number 2 out of the SEC. I got the Miami Hurricanes moving up to number 3 because Clemson suffered a crushing loss, losing by double digits at home to Louisville. That was kind of a shocker to me. And I got BYU still undefeated and winning the Big 12, getting that 4th bye. Other than that, guys, I got the Longhorns followed by the Buckeyes. You could very easily swap those. I think Ohio State nationally is now ranked number 2. I got Tennessee. They got a big one next week. They're playing Georgia. Indiana, very impressive. Big win against Michigan State. They were down 10 early and then scored 47 unanswered. They have got the Michigan Wolverines this week. I think it's a big game in name only because the Wolverines are not a very good team this year. Benny, I got you Fighting Irish in there. You can't deny it. They've got one loss.
I got to tell you, the college football, it's like the playoffs started now. It's playoffs the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You got Mississippi against Georgia this week. Georgia got to go play Tennessee next week.
That's a biggie.
You know, Alabama's playing LSU. They could beat LSU. They could hop back in.
But guys, that game, I was going to say, Al, that LSU Alabama game, this thing's winner take all. Whoever loses is out. Has no shot at the playoffs with 3 losses. The winner has still a chance to get in. So that's a huge game in Baton Rouge Saturday night in Death Valley. Great place to play, by the way. That's a big game.
You got Clemson. You know, it depends on who wins their conferences too.
Yeah, you know something. I think Clemson kind of fell out of favor there. I like Ole Miss that they had a big offensive explosion. A lot is going to be told this week when they're at home against Georgia. Let's see how they fare. They've kind of petered out when they've had the chance at the large stage. You know, Kiffin hasn't gotten it done. Let's see if he does. And Boise still the highest ranked group of 5 team. You got to love. Listen. They stacked the box last week against Genty. I watched the game against San Diego State. 9 guys. They held him in the first half, but then he broke loose in the second half. And the quarterback, Maddox Madsen, threw for over 200 in the first half and 4 touchdowns. So you better be aware of Boise State. Whoever's going to take them, if they do make it to the playoffs, it's going to be a tough game for anybody. And the other game out there, guys, I want to get your take on it real quick. You got Deion Sanders in Colorado. All of a sudden, kind of sneaking up there in the Big 12. They got a huge game against Tech in Lubbock this week. If they can beat Texas Tech this week, Al, I like Colorado to get a shot at the Big 12 championship.
Going down, Les. They're going down this week.
Well, the book says they're going down. I think they're going down. Al, what's your take on this game?
I agree with you. I tell you what, I think Deion's got these guys playing at a level. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now. And they got their eyes on being in that top 15, hopefully, and maybe breaking into that top 12 before all the smoke clears. But they're playing top flight football. They're going to have to play great defense because we know they can score. They got to protect Shedeur in terms of him passing the football because he's the guy that makes that whole thing go. It should be an interesting matchup. But if they get through these guys this week, look out. Anything can happen. And looking at your top 12 list, I mean, we're more than halfway through the season, and it could shake up a little bit more. Some can drop out, some can go up. I mean, the landscape is going to change several more times. But like Benny said, every game here out is a playoff game.
It's a playoff
for
game,
the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, you got Tony was able to put in these teams to watch. We're talking Colorado. Bama wins this week. I mean, they're in. LSU, they're in. You got A&M that lost. I mean, A&M got thumped, guys, by the Gamecocks in Columbia last week. I mean, it wasn't close. SMU is a team no one's talking about. It's their first year in the ACC. Kevin Jennings throwing that ball all over the place. Lashley's got his guys playing well. And I'm telling you right now, guys, they keep winning. They're going to play Miami in the ACC championship game. And then Iowa State, who was undefeated, man, that was a tough loss against Texas Tech last week. Tech scored late in the game. I think Taj Brooks scored a touchdown with about 30 seconds to go that won it there. So you got some teams to watch. But to your point, guys, I think there's still 16 or 17 teams that have a shot at this thing. And if this was last year, you'd have to be talking 4 or 5. You know, when people talk about why did they expand the playoffs? It's going to ruin college football. I think it's been better for college football. So much more opportunity, right?
This is gives teams much more opportunity. You know, hey, Ohio State still has to play Indiana. All these teams have to play each other.
Right.
I mean, so God only knows what's going to happen. It's a team that goes on the run, and wins.
We mentioned at the beginning of the season how this is going to be probably the most unique football season that we've ever seen. The first time out, having 12 teams in the playoffs, and just like Benny said, I mean, a lot of these teams are gonna erase each other because they got to play each other.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, well, I got to think, something with the expanded playoffs and the transfer portal being more active now than ever. It literally changes teams overnight. You've got Cignetti, who goes from James Madison as a head coach, gets his first, big time coaching job, and he was on, Saban's staff at Alabama there, but he goes to Indiana, a team that has never been 10-0 ever in the history of the program, dating back almost 132 years. They beat Michigan this week. They're 10-0. I mean, that is a tremendous story.
They're good. They're good. Yep.
Hell of an offense and pretty damn good defense. But well, guys, we got
and that's the psychic of it all. That's the psychic that's the psychic of it all, because when teams have won 7, 8, 9 games, they stop believing they can win. They know how to win. Everybody wants to win, but everybody don't know how to win. These teams is undefeated, man. You got to watch them. They're playing on a different level.
Can't wait to see in 2 weeks if they both keep winning. Indiana, Ohio State, probably the biggest game there. Guys, real quick before we let you go, Al, listen, I think it's a 4-person race. I know people talked about Curtis Work, the quarterback at Indiana, and I know he's got to be mentioned in there, but if you're talking Heisman, I think these are your 4, unless something crazy happens. You got Dylan Gabriel piloting the number 1 team, Cam Ward throwing all over the place for Miami, undefeated. You got Genti, who's the best running back in the country. Defenses scheme to stop him every week, and he seems to gain yards. And then you got Travis Hunter, the guy who could be a number 1 pick as a wide receiver or a cornerback, right, at Colorado. Hopefully he stays healthy. I think it's going to be these 4 guys in New York.
I think Hunter's path, if Colorado keeps winning, I think he's going to end up being the favorite. No. If he gets if they keep winning Colorado, they win the Big 12 and they go into the playoffs, because he plays both ways and he's exceptional both ways.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you take
Deion's going to give him.
That's right.
Deion's going to give him a lot of hype as well. He's going to hype that up big time. But you got to look at Dylan, the quarterback up at Oregon. They run the table, and he's undefeated. Same thing with Cam Ward.
Yeah.
And then Gentry. I mean, he's lighting it up. If he breaks Barry Sanders' all-time single-season rushing record, that's going to be phenomenal. Because I mean, that's huge right there. You don't rush for over 2,000 yards in a college football season in this day and time where they're throwing the football around.
Yeah. But it's going to be so hard, Benny, for him, because number 1, defenses are geared to stop him. They're stacking the box. But number 2, he doesn't play in a blowout game. He didn't play the fourth quarter last week. And in one of the games, 2 games, he didn't play the second half, and he could have ran it up. So
no, it's going to be interesting. Well, it's going to be a very interesting year because, I was looking tonight. Northern Illinois is playing somebody on the road, and their favorite against a team that's got a better record than them. How they beat Notre Dame is
Bowling Green. I think they're playing Bowling Green tonight. But
they're 4-4. They're 4-4.
I know. I don't know, but you know something? any given Saturday or any given Friday now, Al, you know something, if you're not up for the game and you're not mentally into that game, an inferior physical team can beat you. They can sneak up and beat you.
I liked Miami of Florida like after the first 3 or 4 weeks, but they've escaped some very close games. I don't think they have it. You know, when they play against an SEC team, I don't see them beating any of those.
Well,
Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Mississippi.
Well, let's see what happens.
To your point, Les, anytime you put those pants on one leg at a time, just like anybody else, anything can happen. You know, these guys, they get fired up. It's a lot of parity in the league in college football because of the portal now. But this time of the year is where you're going to see the best and the brightest step up and step out. And I think the next 5-6 weeks are going to be very interesting.
No, I agree.
It
well,
certainly
listen,
is, Al.
well, we're going to be back.
Is.
Well, let's let Al go. Al, listen, best of luck this week in Houston. Let's beat those Panthers from Prairie View. Let's put the Rattlers at 6-3 this week. So we'll be listening on Saturday. You have a great week. We're going to be back with Benny the Book's picks in college and the pros. We're going to do it right after this.
Take care.
Locals Tavern, Leland, North Carolina's favorite neighborhood bar, just south of the bridge where everyone truly does know your name, offers a variety of cold brews, wine, and specialty cocktails, and offers something for everyone on their food menu. With daily lunch specials and live evening entertainment, Locals is a hot spot you won't want to miss, where you can unwind in a casual atmosphere with friends, both old and new.
Welcome back to Sports Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Again, special thanks to Scott Uzzell from Nike for coming on tonight's show. Incredibly impressive interview with him. And we'll be checking out Al the Rattler Chester's broadcast Saturday against Prairie View. Now we got Benny the Book on the right. We're going to do a little picks, Benny. So let's start with our college picks.
All right. So this week I got 5 games. I like Mississippi getting 2.5 at home versus Georgia. Georgia has to face Tennessee next week. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they'll be looking ahead, but that's two tough games in a row, you know.
Listen, if Georgia goes and beats Mississippi and then they go and beat Tennessee back-to-back weeks,
no,
right I know they got one loss, but I got to tell you, they got to be ranked number 2.
They're right there.
Yeah.
They could be considered the best team in the nation. You know, depending on how
but you like Jackson Dart. Okay.
Yep. They've been scoring a lot of points. And like I said at the beginning of the year, Georgia's offense is not anywhere near what it's been the last 2 years. The quarterback isn't playing that good. Believe me, he lost his 2 top receivers. You know, they lost a lot. But
making a lot of mistakes, Benny. 5 picks in the last 2 games.
So
all right, let's go with the number 2 game.
I'm going to take the Memphis team laying 9 points at they're at home against Rice. Rice is not a good squad. Memphis get back in the game a little bit. You know, they've taken a step back.
They did. You know, they were one of the top group of 5 teams, and they lost last week. Rice coming off a big win against the Naval Academy. So you like Memphis, though?
Yeah, I like Memphis.
Okay, I like the Tigers. Okay,
put up some points there.
Who do we got, number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to go with a bounce back game because they got a really good squad. Iowa State's laying 3 to Kansas at Kansas. At the beginning of the year, I thought Kansas was going to be one of the better teams in the Big 12, but them like West Virginia, they just don't have it. And Iowa State had their hiccup last week. Great coach. I think he'll have the boys ready for this week against Kansas.
That was a very costly loss last week. They dropped down.
Yep.
So you're looking for Rocco Becht and company to kind of bounce back against the Jayhawks.
Yep.
All right.
So we'll go for a rebound off the loss.
Okay.
I'm going to go with James Madison, laying 16.5 versus Georgia State.
Okay.
They when they put up the points, they put up the points. And
Alonzo Barnett, a really good quarterback.
Really, really not that good. So we're going to go with JMU at home, laying the 16.5.
Okay.
And in my final game, I'm going to take those Texas Tech Red Raiders plus the 3.5 against your Colorado Buffaloes. You've been better predicting what they were doing, but it's a tough road on Texas Tech is not a bad squad. They usually score points. I I think they'll run the ball, control it against Colorado. And I'll take the 3.5 points at home.
The one thing I'm worried about Colorado is Taj Brooks is a tremendous running back with the Red Raiders, and he's the one who scored the winning touchdown at Ames, Iowa last week. He's a really good player, definitely going to be in the NFL in next year. So Colorado's had trouble stopping the run. That could do it, but I just have a weird feeling. I think he's got the Buffaloes, Coach Prime's got those Buffaloes humming on all cylinders, and I really do like the Buffaloes to win that game. So
there's a team that I would say to watch this week. I didn't pick them, but Mississippi State is getting 24 points at Tennessee. Tennessee has Georgia next week.
You think they're looking past them?
Mississippi State, they're horrible. They're horrible.
Right.
But it's the kind of game that these college kids they know what's coming down the road.
Yep.
It's so hard for a college coach to keep them game by game. They're looking at this team. They say this team stinks. They're going to just blow them out. But watch that.
So we got your 5 picks in. So we're going to go to the NFL picks. Ben's picks. He wasn't here last week again. Benny, we all discussed it last week. Condolences to your mom. And just wanted to kind of just go through. I went 2-2. I picked your games, but we're not going to count that. I went 2-2. But before we go to your picks, 3 big moves in the NFL during the trade deadline. We all agree probably the biggest one is the Detroit Lions acquiring Zadarius Smith from the Packers. Hutchinson goes down. Since he's been down, they really haven't had much of a pass rush. Smith's got 5 sacks. He's got about 7 pressures. So I think that's going to be huge for Detroit.
Of course,
moving down.
They had to pick somebody up.
Yeah.
With the way their offense is playing, they don't really have to play great defense. They just got to play good defense because that offense, they're humming.
Yeah,
they got it all going. They got 2 great backs. They got wide receivers all over the place. They got a great tight end
and a good line.
Goff is playing. When he was in college, they expected him to play like this, but he had a little rough start. But now he's like an all pro.
Yeah, Ben Johnson's done a great job as an OC over there. You got the Commanders, Redskins, Commodores, whatever we want to call them. The Washington football team. Washington's played great. Jaden Daniels, rookie of the year, runaway right now. And if they continue to do what they do, there's a chance he's going to get a lot of votes for MVP. I just want to tell you. But they picked up Marcus Lattimore, the corner from the Saints, who is a really lockdown corner to go up against maybe an A.B. Brown from the Eagles and really try to play him one-on-one. So I like that move.
Yeah, they needed help in the defensive backfield. Yeah. They lost a lot of good defensive players from last year.
I like that pickup. And the Steelers today picking up Mike Williams. Now, off injured. Hey, I'm a Charger guy. I got to live with him being hurt every other year, but still a big receiver. The way Russell Wilson throws the ball, throws a lot of those jump balls, those one-on-one type balls. Williams really, really good at boxing out and coming down with those balls, so let's hope he can do that. So let's go to your picks real quick. Tony just gave me the red light, so let's go to the picks real quick.
We got the first game is going to be the Rams, -2.5 versus Miami. Rams are coming on. They did it last year too. They finished the end of the year. They got both of their wide receivers back. The offense is humming. They're going to beat Miami.
I like Puka Nacua. Got to love him. Okay, Rams.
Second game, I'm going to take the Chargers -7.5 versus Tennessee. Tennessee stinks. Chargers, they looked really good last week. I picked against them last week, and they blew my team out.
Jim Harbaugh has been really turning that program around, running the football. But Justin Herbert looks like he's got a great connection with Ladd McConkey, and they look like a real good combination. I like that pick as well.
And the third pick, I'm going to take the Chicago Bears -6.5 versus New England Pats.
Okay.
Patriots. I don't know. The Bears. This could be a tough one.
No, Marty's not going to like this pick. Rose's going to love this pick. This is a family thing. Well, Marty's not going to like this pick.
They went in and hung with the Commanders, and lost on that one stupid play. How the guy gets behind everybody and ball pops up in the air. But Williams is starting to play better and better every week. Okay. So the Bears, they got a good defense. I'll take the Bears -6.5 against the Pats. And my last game is I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts at home +4 versus Buffalo.
Richardson not playing again. Flacco is the starter.
Man, Joe Flacco, he this is his yearly thing. He comes in, he's steady. He's going to throw the ball good. They got a running game. they're gonna upset Buffalo. Buffalo's humming though. They're humming. They're playing really well, way better than I think people expected. But those are my 4 games.
And you're looking, as long as Josh Allen is healthy, Bills always have a chance. So those are Benny's picks. Again, I want to thank everybody. Great questions tonight. I want to thank our very special guest, Scott Uzzell, VP and GM, North America Operating Unit at Nike. A really, really top guy at Nike, and I'm so thankful that he decided and we be able to come on a show and have a really good interview. We learned a lot from that. So thank you, Al Chester. Good luck this week against Prairie View. So for my entire team, Benny the Book, Joni, my amazing chat girl, Tony the Tiger, Smeraldi doing his magic behind the camera. This is Les Schwartz. Now, remember, next week, we got a very special guest, another Hall of Famer, but we're going to go an hour early. Normally, we're 8 to 9. We're going to go 7 to 8 Eastern time next week. We have 8-time NBA All-Star and Hall of Famer Alex English in the house.
One of the best
also.
Scorers, one of the best offensive players.
Absolutely, led the league in scoring in 1983. It's going to be a great interview. So if you're an NBA guy, we're going to talk college basketball with South Carolina as well. And hey, listen, he was even a star in a movie called Amazing Grace and Chuck. So you want to check that out. Next Wednesday, 7 p.m. on YouTube, Schwartz Talking Sports.
Everyone.
So for everyone here, Les Schwartz, we'll see you. Have a great weekend, everybody.